All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in for another one of Ryan's Tax Talks. We're talking about ESOPs today, so settle in. It's going to get crazy. So, what is an ESOP? It's an employee stock ownership plan. And I'm going to go over three common questions that I saw while researching this. The first of which is, what are the tax benefits? Like, why would we do this at all? So, um, really the benefit is the ability of the selling shareholder to indefinitely defer the capital gains on the sale. So Code 1042 allows the selling shareholder, if they invest the proceeds of the sale properly, that is a select list of qualified replacement properties, they can indefinitely push forward the basis of the original company onto the new property that they purchased. And then they would pay the capital gains at that point at which they sell that new property. So they can continue to push forward their or defer their capital gains until they actually sold it. Another advantage or question, so if the company sells more than half of their stock, how do they maintain ownership of the company? In an ESOP, control and ownership are two separate things. Even if more than half of the shares are sold to an ESOP, the outside shares or the non-ESOP shares appoint the board of directors, and then subsequently that board of directors appoints the ESOP trustee. So the employees don't really have direct ownership of the stock. They have a beneficial interest in the trust that owns the stock, and the trustee votes on or votes in the stock on their behalf as directed by the board of directors, who were appointed by the non-ESOP shareholders. So those that aren't part of the ESOP, who originally had ownership and control of the company, just by virtue of putting people in charge, maintain control and ownership of the company. Well, not necessarily ownership, but control. So the third question is, when do employees get to sell their shares, and who buys them? So what's the point of having these shares if you're not going to be able to just sell them and get something out of them? So there are 5 events that can give an employee the right to a distribution: death, disability, retirement, termination. Now that can be either voluntary or involuntary termination, and diversification. So what diversification is when the employee hits a certain participation requirement and a certain age requirement, they have a right to diversify some of their shares. So they could take it out of that particular company and purchase other property. The company bylaws will govern how these shares are paid out. For example, someone who retires would most likely get a much larger disbursement than, say, somebody who just quit. So maintaining them for a long period of time is usually what they're pushing for. So that's pretty much what I got. Hope that's helpful, and thanks to anybody who takes the time to watch this.